Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Morgan, and today we're going to take a look at another part two and part three follow-ups to help you to better organize and plan your answers. For those of you who don't know me, like I mentioned, my name is Morgan, and it's very nice to meet you. Today I want to talk about something that most people don't really think about, and it's called merging answers, which I will explain a little bit later in the video. Today, we're going to focus on part two and the follow-up part three questions based on the new questions that were recently released a couple of weeks ago. So the topic for today is to describe a village that I have visited. Before I start my answer, I just wanted to talk a little bit about a couple of strategies to help you to put it together. When we talk about a place, a really simple trick is something called sensory. Every person, well, most people, we have five senses: what you see, what you smell, what you taste, what you hear, what you feel. When I talk about a location, always use it because your senses paint a picture with words. For example, instead of saying, I went to a quiet place, I would say, I remember the rustling of the leaves as I walked through the forest. It creates an image, and it's something that adds so much detail to your answers that anybody can imagine what you're talking about. Now, when we talk about this particular question, it's really important that we follow a timeline. Start at the beginning from maybe where you went, and then tell me the natural progression. What did you do first? What did you do next? What did you do after that? How did you feel about it? If you tell a narrative story where it has a natural progression, then you don't have to think about what to say. All you have to do is remember your actual experience. Last, don't forget to express your emotions. You can show how a place made you feel by using basic words like, I felt peaceful, it was beautiful, it was breathtaking. These little words that add so much to your answers. Now, you don't have to use those words because, as mentioned in previous videos, the most important rule in IELTS speaking is you got to talk like you. Show me your personality. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a quick answer about a village that I visited. As most of you know, I come from Canada, but I live in Indonesia. So I'm going to talk about a city that I have recently visited. All right, here we go. You know, a place that I visited not long ago was nearby a city called Bandung, which is the second largest city in Indonesia. But just outside, there is a place called Lembang, and they've got a lot of tea plantations. It's located in a valley, and I tell you what, the color green on the fields and the way the hills move was something that actually kind of reminded me of my home country just a little bit. It's about a 2-hour drive from the city, but we used a motorcycle, which was amazing, by the way. If you've never ridden with a motorcycle, highly recommend it. We visited the place just a few weeks ago with my wife, and the reason we chose it is because we don't really have a lot of time together because we're very busy, and it's not too far from where we live now. So it was just a short getaway, just to escape all of the stress of living in the city. The drive itself was amazing because, as I mentioned, we were on a motorbike. So, you got the wind in your hair. I used to have hair. You got the sights, the sounds, the smells, and it's just so good. The roads are winding through the mountains. We saw a bunch of animals, which again is really, really cool. Anyway, I'm off topic. When we got there, the owner took us on a guided tour. He was kind of excited because I don't think he has seen many, foreign people. But I remember walking through all of the rows of tea, and I never really understood where tea comes from. Like, I knew it was a plant, but to see how these fields are planted and how much work goes into making it, it gave me a really big respect for the tea that I drink in the morning. Anyway, he actually got me to pick tea leaves for a little while to show me how it works and how to process. And it is such an interesting thing. I think my wife was maybe a little bit bored, but well, I guess. Anyway, later we sat in this little cafe, just outside where you could see the fields, and we got to drink the tea that we harvested, and it was definitely incredible. I don't know if it tasted better because it was better or if it's just tasted better because of where we were. But if you ever get the chance, you should definitely try it out. Anyway, after a couple of hours, I felt so connected with the place. I felt so relaxed because it was just so slow paced and simple, which is something that I don't really get in the city. I'm sure that sometimes the hustle and bustle of the city gets to you as well. Anyway, the fresh air and the slower pace were so refreshing. Man, it made me realize that I need to spend more time outdoors. If you ever come to Indonesia, you should definitely check out the spot that we visited because I will definitely go again. Now, in my answer, I talked about a lot of different things. Most of it came from memory, but I made small comments. For example, I really enjoyed it, but I don't think my wife did. That's because as I was telling the story, I was remembering how bored she was. Now, at the start of the video, I mentioned the word merging answers. A lot of people, you guys spend so much time studying all of the new questions, but this answer that I just gave you is a really good example of a merging answer. Why? Because this tells you about a village I visited. But if I was doing the IELTS exam and they asked me, describe a countryside I have been to, I can use this answer. Describe a long walk that you have taken, I can use this answer. Describe a special day that did not cost you a lot of money, I can use this answer. Describe a time you visited a new place, I can still use this answer. And that's the beauty of merging. When you start to build your answers, you can apply them to different questions and get very strong results. Now, just a quick recap. First, I set the scene with sensory details, talking about the green of the fields and the air through my hair, which I don't have, on the drive. I used a timeline, starting with where we started and where we went and how we got there. Because that's exactly what happened. We got there, he took us on a tour, we picked some leaves, he showed us the processing, we ended up at a cafe. And I expressed my feelings, peaceful, refreshing, calm, because that's what I think. Now, some of the vocabulary that I did use was rolling hills, hustle and bustle, and of course, getaway. Now, none of these are advanced in the terms of vocabulary. But as I mentioned, it's uncommon language. It's not something that people would use in everyday conversation. And that's kind of important because a lot of people, they spend so many hours trying to get the biggest, most advanced words they can possibly get and put them into their answers. And that's okay. You can get a great score that way, but it is so much work. Remember, the most important rule is to talk like you. That's what it is. You got to be comfortable. Now, let's move on to the part threes, and let's see if we can go a little bit deeper where we can look at how to share an opinion without actually giving just your opinion. In part three, there are so many things out there where they say you're not supposed to talk about yourself. Well, that's true to a point, but you can always use your opinions to help you with your answers. Um, Anything that you say in part three, again, don't just tell me the answer and give me an example. You need to explain it. You need to explain exactly what it is to bring clarity to the questions. In part three, you can also use comparisons, which is a great way to do it. Words like on the other hand, in contrast, etc. It shows me that you can think about something from one side and the other, regardless of what your opinion is. Now, let's have a look at some part three questions because this video is limited for time. The first one is, why do people want to go to the countryside? Here is my answer. You know, I think that people are drawn to the countryside because, honestly, it offers a slower pace of life and a chance to escape the stress of the cities. For example, in rural areas, there's less noise, less population, not so crowded, which makes it so much easier for people to relax and connect with each other and with nature. Also, the countryside is much more spacious, so you can enjoy so many activities like hiking or gardening. Ask yourself, when is the last time you went hiking in the city for fun? Yeah, me neither. Now, I notice a lot of the people from the city plan short trips to villages just to recharge. For example, my wife and I recently went to a tea plantation in a city called Bandung. It's like a mini reset when we don't have time to take a real holiday to, a different country for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, just something for the weekend to recharge. Personally, I think it's absolutely refreshing, and it's something that I try to do at least once a month, like a mini holiday, just spend time with my wife, my friends, my partner, and that's what it is. This answer is actually something that I put together right now because as I'm thinking about it, everything that I said is my actual opinion. I think it has a slower pace of life. I think that there's less noise. I think there's less people. The thing is, I do not say the word, I just say people. And that way I can tell you what I think, and I don't have to think so much about what I need to say. All right, next question. Do you think that people will live in villages in the future? That is just a weird question, but it's an interesting question. And I really think it depends on the changes to technology, actually. That's what I think. For example, now that people are more and more doing that whole remote work, like working from home because of the COVID virus, more and more people might choose to live in the villages because they can work online and enjoy that better quality of life, that fresher and cleaner air. Not to mention, the cost of living in a rural area is so much lower than in the city. However, I think that villages will also need to improve their infrastructure. For example, they would need better internet for the people that choose to work from home, better healthcare, and that's something that would attract more people to come and live there. Without that, most people will likely stay in the cities where they always have access to everything that they need. So yeah. Now, in this answer, I used a lot of my personality. Um, I know that if I choose to work from home, I would love to live in the village. But as I mentioned, it would have to have certain things, whether it's a grocery store that can accommodate me or a hospital. But again, I'm using my opinions, but speaking in a very general way. All right, last question. Is there too much pressure for young people to live in the city in today's society? Wow. You know, I have a lot of friends that live in the city, and the city that I live has about 30 million people. And every one of them has the exact same story. It's about the jobs. All right, so here comes my answer. Uh, is there too much pressure for young people to live in a city in today's society? Part three speaking. Absolutely. Cities are always seen as the place to be for education, job opportunities, entertainment, and it puts so much pressure on young people. They feel like they have to move to the city to succeed, even if it is expensive and stressful. For example, the rent prices in a big city can be so overwhelming, and the fast paced lifestyle can really affect a person's mental health. For those of you that are born and raised in the city, maybe you kind of get what I'm saying, but any of you that have moved to the city, I know that you know exactly what I'm saying. That being said, I think that society is starting to recognize the value of a more balanced life. Many young people are trying to explore alternative lifestyles like working remotely or trying to start their own small little business to build a life. And I think that's absolutely wonderful. Um, Now, this is a short answer that covers everything that I have in my mind, but I come from the village. The first time I came to a city like this one with 30 million people, it was extremely overwhelming. It was stressful just to go and meet my friends for coffee. So again, I am using my personal experience and memories to build the answer. Now, the answer that I gave is okay. It's not right. It's not wrong. It's my answer. And that's the most important thing. In IELTS, nobody can tell you what to say, how to say, or any of that because there is no such thing as a wrong answer. You got to trust yourself. Now, let's go. In my first answer, I gave clear reasons and I supported my ideas to make sure that you understood not just what I say, but you also understand why I'm saying it. In my second answer, I used comparisons. I compared two sides. In my third one, I used a little bit of vocabulary, remote work and fast-paced lifestyle. But if you think about it, not complex words. Um, Remember, merging answers are great. There is no wrong answer. And as long as you use your actual experience, whether you're speaking personally or generally, it makes it so much easier to do the IELTS because when you use your personal feelings, it's not a test, it's a conversation. And when you relax your mind, your fluency will increase, your confidence will increase, and everything else will increase automatically. All right, guys, that's the end for this question. If you would like me to focus on other questions, please send messages for me in the chat. And if I see a bunch of you having difficulties with specific questions, I can definitely create more videos to show you how to answer these questions. Now, remember, if you use my answers, don't. They're mine. What I'm saying is, if you would like to use my answer, the best way to do it is look at what I said and change the information with your own. For example, maybe you've never been to a tea plantation. Maybe you went to a museum with a friend. You can use the example, but always change it with your information. That way, your answers will always be yours and always be more comfortable. All right, guys, it was great to see you. You guys have a great day, and I will see you again on the next video. Have a good day.